Everyone, my name is Chris Martin, and I'm here to continue my group's discussion on our new product, Taxi 911. I'm going to discuss the data sources for the market, and right now I'm going to discuss the market need as well as the social condition underlining the market need for our product. It seems that every year the cost of ambulances continue to rise, and that is in due part because of the increased number of privatized ambulatory firms around this country. And with this increase in privatized ambulatory firms, there becomes an increase in disputes between these private firms and the insurance companies that are supposed to pay the cost of these ambulance rides. What happens is that they cannot agree on prices, which means that the insurance company will end up only paying a small portion of the cost, which means that the consumer or the patient that took the ride will end up having to pay the rest, which could be upwards of hundreds to thousands of dollars, depending on any services provided during the transport. As you can see in the chart below, that this is a basic outline of what the New York City Fire Department charges for ambulance rides. At the top, you see the basic life support ambulance. That's your run-of-the-mill ambulance that does not include anything else. That costs $704. Any other services that they do on the ride could be added to the total. For instance, if they use oxygen on the trip, they're going to charge $60 extra just for the oxygen. They also charge per mile. That's $12 a mile. So if you're on a 3-mile trip, you're going to be charged $36 for that, for the mileage of that trip. Here's where the issue comes in. While some calls are emergency calls that have to be transported rapidly and right away, there are many ambulatory calls every single day that are just routine transports. And the problem is that these routine transports that may not require any extra services have the same base cost as the emergency transports. You see a lot of these routine transports with senior citizens in assisted living homes or patients with chronic illnesses that have to go to hospitals or centers in order to get their treatments. So they are paying the same cost as someone who is in a dire emergency when they don't need as many of the services that dire emergency would need. Which brings our product into play and shows that there's a large market for low-cost routine ambulatory transport services. So here's a little bit of data to describe the market need. A 2-mile trip on average could cost somebody $2,000. This $2,000 in turn would go to the insurance agency. The insurance agency would dispute that, saying it's too much and they won't agree on that term. They'll only agree to pay $800 of that, which means that the consumer is left to pay the extra $1,200 when they may not have even called it. The Better Business Bureau received approximately 1,200 customer complaints about various ambulatory agencies around the country. Half of these complaints related to billing issues, and 46 of those mentioned out-of-network billing, which means that their insurance provider stated that the ambulatory agency that took them is not in their network, which means that they will not pay for it, which means that the patient is stuck with the entire bill because they had to use an agency that was not in their network for their insurance company. So the size, trends, and characteristics of the domestic and or international market, and then the growth rate of the market. So this is a relatively new idea, but the idea of ordering a ride has been around for a number of years. In particular, everybody knows the popular app Uber. And there was an interesting study done out of the University of Kansas where they were seeing a rise in the use of Uber around big cities. And they found that with the introduction of Uber, this led to a 7% decline in ambulance call rates. Now, this is going to be touched upon later by Nathan in part 3, but this is just showing you that people are willing to take a car to order an Uber and take a car to the hospital instead of trying to call an ambulance, because they know that an Uber ride is going to cost a fraction of what an ambulatory service would cost. And that is where we know that we are going to step in, and we can offer services that obviously an Uber cannot with an ambulance itself at a much lower cost, because these are going to be the routine transports. So with the introduction of our product, we are going to see a freeing up of the emergency paramedic ambulatory services to be able to go on more life-threatening calls. And what this is going to do is this is going to decrease the response time to these emergencies, which means that we are going to see an improving of survival rate, because they're getting there that much faster, because they're not bogged down by all these transports that are just routine, where they don't have to do anything. They can go to these life-threatening calls instead much faster. So that is it for my part, and now I'm going to turn it over to Nathan Smith, who will be going over the entrepreneurial and management team, as well as the timeline for our product.